California and come to Arizona before they even have a job. So you're always going to see a higher percentage number there. The more important number is the labor participation rate, and then to look at the number of jobs that we had at our historic high of February of 2020 and the number of jobs that we have today. So I do think if you look at the 60% plus people that have come off the unemployment rolls, in addition to the $2,000 bonus that we're paying people for full-time work, $1,000 for part-time work, but how much of Arizona's economic workforce was actually able to stay employed through the pandemic is a reflection of, I think, the balanced approach that we took.
Something I've heard from a lot of analysts, though, is that there's kind of a job mismatch between who's unemployed right now and the jobs that are available to people: hospitality, nursing, education. That doesn't necessarily reflect who's unemployed. So I mean, $190 is what the average unemployed person was making. That's not enough to live off of. These people were looking for a job. They still haven't found one yet. We're talking about 80,000 plus people. Eviction moratorium comes to an end. Are you concerned about what this is going to look like in the next 2 months?
Well, we want to see opportunity for all of our citizens, so it doesn't matter if you're in the service sector or the semiconductor sector. I mean, there's a job available that will match whatever skills someone has, in addition to the dollars that we put in for upskilling and education. There are dollars available for people that are displaced from an eviction moratorium standpoint, and not all of those dollars have been utilized. But the best way, of course, for somebody to be able to pay their mortgage or their rent is to have a paying job.
Governor, let me ask a question. About 8 months ago, you certified the election results. You said that the election was conducted fairly. Republic had a great story the other day about the candidates, Republican candidates for governor, who all are saying that somehow Joe Biden is not president. What does that say about the party, and what does that say about its chances in 2022?
That's a question for them.
No, well, but you're the one who said you're the head of the party as the elected top.
I'm the head of the state. I certified the election. It's a question for individuals. Feel free to ask them.
Governor, a poll released this morning said that 62% of likely voters opposed your decision to withhold financing for school districts that impose mandates. Can you respond to that?
When you say, will you restate the question?
Sure. So a poll that was released this morning showed that 62% of likely voters opposed the decision to tie financial funding for education to whether or not the districts impose mandates.
Yeah, I'm not going to pay attention to any poll as I'm trying to put out good public policy. Polls really aren't the way you do this.
Well, pay attention to the U.S. Department of Education, though. They're actually investigating many of these states. Not Arizona yet.
Not Arizona, you said the key fact.
Yeah, but that's because our mask mandate isn't in effect yet. Are you concerned about civil
We
rights?
do not have a mask mandate in Arizona. There is no mask mandate. There's no prohibition on masks in Arizona. People are smart. They can make the right decision. Anyone in Arizona that wants to wear a mask can wear a mask.
Governor, the voucher
We're
program,
following the guidelines.
the voucher program you created for people.
There's no voucher program in Arizona. Vouchers are unconstitutional.
The ESA program that you expanded to allow students to be taken out of a school if that school does have COVID mitigation policies like a mask mandate has been tremendously popular. Are you planning on infusing more federal dollars into that program this year?
I'm a big fan of the educational savings account, and I'm a big fan of parental choice. Our kids need to get caught up, and they need to be in a place of learning that isn't playing games, but is actually paying attention to their communication skills, their analytical skills, and et cetera. So I want to do everything I can within my power with dollars available to get our kids caught up. And I think that the ESA model, if you look at that parents make good decisions for their children, is doing good work.
You've already spent $10 million on that program. How much more are you planning to add then?
Well, right now in Arizona, dollars are not our issue. We're at a record high in the rainy day fund, a cash balance in the general fund, our investment in education. What I want to make certain is any dollar that we do spend is that we're doing it effectively with a return on the investment.
But that doesn't answer his question. How much, you say we've got plenty of money, how much more are you going to put into ESAs?
Well, undecided at this time, but there's plenty there.
What happens in the next school year when, say, we're out of this pandemic, no one's implementing mask policies? So that's not an issue anymore. That's why the student was removed from the school.
schools their old schools no longer requiring masks. Do you plan to pass a law to make sure that these students who are now taking advantage of the program, because specifically of masks, that's the new criteria for this expansion?
No, the criteria is that schools follow the law. That's the criteria.
Over
That's
masks,
always going to
over
be the
masks.
criteria.
But do you plan to allow those students then to continue to get $7,000 a year? Do they need to go back to the school?
To be determined.
So you basically said in response to this question is you don't govern by polls, but the fact is when 2/3 of people are opposed to your policies, does that suggest you're on the wrong path?
You're giving a hypothetical.
Well, it's not a hypothetical. The numbers, the polling agency is somebody that I think Republicans have used, and they're saying that they oppose.
We're
what
not
you're
in
doing.
an election cycle, and I'm not going to pay attention to polls when it comes to doing the right thing and getting our kids back into classrooms. Our kids need to be caught up. The classrooms are a safe place to be, and we're following CDC recommendations, and so is the Arizona Department of Health Services.
But that comes down to the question of that you are tying additional federal virus aid to whether a school has a
We
mask mandate.
are letting dollars follow schools that are following the law, and we'll continue to do it.
1 in 4 of the new COVID-19 cases are for people under the age of 20, though. You say classrooms are safe.
This is a contagious disease, okay? It's highly transmissible. We want people to be responsible. We want them to follow the guidelines.
But they can't get vaccinated.
Pardon me?
We have about 2 more minutes, sorry.
But they can't get vaccinated, and you say that's your go-to answer is people should be vaccinated.
People should be vaccinated. We're at 90% in our most vulnerable category. We're 70% across the board for people that have a vaccination. The Biden administration could speed the process so that we can expand vaccinations. But everyone that can get vaccinated is getting vaccinated, and we need to do even more around that.
So you suggest the CDC cut corners to vaccinate
No, I'm not.
children under 12?
I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying that I think there's a lot of bureaucracy in the way, and there has been. We've done everything we can in Arizona to remove it, to allow people not only to get back into a classroom. We changed the CDC guidelines so that we could prioritize teachers, so they could be safe and healthy in front of a classroom. We'll continue to make those kind of decisions, as well as making sure that people that are in the position where they're most vulnerable have access to the vaccine.
One quick related question. Last year, you took certain medications, said you can't use them because you want to preserve them for people who need it with lupus and such. You now have people who are trying to get horse tranquilizer and such. Do we need some action here?
I'm going to let people follow the CDC and Arizona Department of Health guidelines. That's what we've been doing. Anything else?
Yeah, talking real quick back onto joblessness. This group yesterday sued Arizona for $240+ million. I mean, what do you got to say about this? It seems like they got a pretty good legal argument here.
Well, that's not what my attorneys tell me. I'm confident we're on solid legal footing. It's time for people to get back to work if they're looking for a job.
Are you even set up to be able to retroactively give $240 million?
There's not going to be any retroactive giving back. We're going to be investing in our economy, our people, and our education going forward. And let's let the legal process play out.
When you took this $300 a week away, though, you created the return to work bonus. 106 people have gotten this money. That's it, out of the tens of thousands that have returned to work. That has to be a little alarming, right?
Well, what I would say is look at Arizona's economy. We're a top 3 economy across the country in terms of economic momentum, personal income growth, and net in-migration. I think those are all signs of health for the state of Arizona.
Governor, just one clarification on that. The money that funded the return to work bonus, is that state dollars? That's not the unemployment money that would have been given to the state for this reason.
I want to make sure I give you an accurate number here. I've talked a lot about our finances. We've followed the law. We followed the guidelines. Arizona was able to have the largest tax cut in state history. We went from 8% to 2.5% across the board. That was all done with state dollars, the dollars that paid down the pension debt, that paid down debt that came from the recession of 2008, 2009. In terms of the other dollars, I don't want to give a definitive statement. I'd rather do the homework and make sure I give you an accurate answer. Okay?
Thank you, Governor. We appreciate it.
Great to see you again.
CJ will need an answer on where that money came
Yeah,
from.
we'll get right to it.
Get right to it.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.